Welcome to another 2024 Big Year Recap, where Ethan and I find ourselves in, Ethan, where are we now?
Texas, sweetie.
Oh yeah, Texas, for the third time this year. All joking aside, we've done a lot of traveling this year, and there has been more than one morning when we have woken up a little confused about where we were. By the end of October, we had spent 130 days away from home. This included 36 takeoffs and landings, 19 rental cars, and 12 boat trips.
Captain, how soon can you land?
I can't tell.
You can tell me I'm a doctor.
No, I'm just not sure.
But can't you take a guess?
Well, not for another 2 hours.
You can't take a guess for another 2 hours?
No, we can't land for another 2 hours.
Then in November, it kind of stopped. November is known as Rarity Month among birders, and we had planned on, or rather hoped for, some rarities to come for us to chase. But short of a snowy owl, there wasn't much to be found in the Northeast. So, when we headed to the Portland International Jetport on Sunday, we were giddy to be on the road again. We landed in Houston mid-afternoon with Ethan in a grumpy mood, as our once great New England Patriots had just lost again, this time to the Miami Dolphins. I knew we had to find a bird, or he was not going to be pleasant company that evening. And we did. Traveling to the Houston Reservoir and its wooded trails, surrounded by condominiums, apartment buildings, and busy highways, we were looking for a bird from the Indian Subcontinent, the red-vented bulbul. A popular caged bird kept as pets, enough have escaped in Houston to form a small breeding population in the wild. If you want to call downtown Houston the wild. Known for its song, we had hoped to hear the red-vented bulbuls, and we did. But it was so faint up against the traffic noise that it wasn't very helpful. Finally, we saw a couple of medium-sized birds fly from tree to tree with the highway as a backdrop. When they perched, we had our bulbuls, bird number 703 of the year. Then, the next morning, we headed to Galveston Island State Park in search of a black rail, often considered the most elusive of North American breeding birds. The size of a small hen, this black bird with an exotic-looking red eye is almost never seen, as it lives among reeds, rarely emerging. During breeding season, males can be heard at night doing their kee-kee-kur song quite aggressively, but we had missed the breeding season. So we spent Monday morning walking through the Galveston marshes, getting eaten by mosquitoes and hoping that we wouldn't run across any alligators. Periodically, we would play a black rail call, and we got responses several times. Countable. Number 704, but very unsatisfying. Then, as we were driving out of the park on a narrow road with marshy reeds on both sides, a small dark bird popped up and flew in front of the car and dropped down into the reeds. It was a 2-second glimpse at best, and certainly too short to find our cameras, aim, and focus. But we had just seen a black rail. Wow. We have rarely had the opportunity during our big year to connect with family and friends across the country. Either we aren't quite close enough to their area, they are away, or we urgently have to get to a bird. But Monday afternoon was a rare and welcome change. We were delighted to share lunch catching up with Ron and Carolyn, friends we had met on a trip to Europe a year ago, as we passed through their town en route to our next destination, Kingsville. Tuesday was spent at the famous King Ranch. At 825,000 acres, it is the biggest ranch in the United States. This cattle ranch is larger than Rhode Island and the nation of Luxembourg. In addition to cattle and agriculture, King Ranch offers hunting and guided tours, including birding trips. And King Ranch was our opportunity to get a rare ferruginous pygmy owl, the only owl in the lower 48 states that Ethan and I had yet to see or hear. We contacted the ranch and hired Janice Travis to help us find this rare species. We met Janice at one of the electronic gates, and she escorted us to a cluster of ranch houses where we left our car and continued in her van. From there, we were transported into a world we had only seen in the movies. Fields of grazing cattle, deer with enormous racks, cowboys, narrow dirt roads through the mesquite, and gates that had to be opened and closed every 5 minutes or so. The soil at that part of the ranch is very sandy, and only mesquite and grasses can grow there. But in the few areas where there is water, one finds oak islands, where live oaks thrive on the ranch. These islands are where you find the ferruginous pygmy owls. Oak is soft enough for them to excavate nesting holes. Janice brought us to one of these oak islands, and we spent 3 hours looking for the tiny 6-inch creatures. She crawled through thickets while Ethan and I explored more accessible nooks, but we were both covered by nasty burrs that were impossible to remove. With a half hour left before we had to leave, we sat down for lunch, and Janice told us that what we were experiencing with the owl was unusual, not having at least heard one of the 2 to 4 owls living in this oak island. We went back to searching, the three of us going in different directions. When we heard it, Ethan rushed over, and the two of us made our way toward the sound. The bird was calling from deep in the tangles. Janice arrived, and together we moved closer to the sound, and then it stopped. The ferruginous pygmy owl had called loudly for about a minute, but then stopped, and we never got our eyes on the elusive creature. But identifying a bird by sound is countable in a big year, making it bird number 705 and our 20th owl. Unless something extremely rare shows up, this will be our final owl of the year.
Thanks for watching this weekly recap of Ethan and Ingrid's 2024 Big Year. Remember to visit our blog at bigyearbirding.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the subscribe button. And if you want more of this silliness, we also have a Facebook and Instagram page. Happy birding!